Om Shanti and welcome today to this evening program on Srimad Bhagavad Gita for the challenging times. The secrets of Gita, we have been listening to the secrets of Gita teachings that are given by the Supreme Father himself. And till now, in our second and third chapters, we had heard about how Arjuna was asking some questions, and to answer them satisfactorily, God was giving him some beautiful insights as well as some good wisdom, especially in the second chapter when he talked about the soul, how the soul is immortal and the transcendental nature of the soul. And if we have such potential within ourselves, then it becomes easy for us to handle ourselves in any challenging times as well. Because when that inner potential is tapped outside in the outer world, we find that instead of panicking, instead of losing our patience, instead of getting irritated, agitated, we are able to understand the problems as they are, because we keep ourselves detached from the situation. It is only when I become attached to the situation that sometimes we are not able to get the bird's view. And so we start panicking. Similarly, at the same time, God explained on Karma Yoga how when we are stabilized in our eternal nature of the self, our transcendental nature, then we perform actions. It is not that we have to renounce our actions, but when we perform our actions, then definitely it becomes true Karma Yoga. And then he was talking about the ones with the stable intellect. That when I keep my mind and intellect focused on the Supreme and bring out the inner potential in my practical karma, in my practical life, then we can see how we can remain detached from our sense organs, and in a detached manner we perform through our sense organs. Yes. In the third chapter, he was talking about the sacrificial fire, how our lives is like a sacrificial fire, and we need to purify ourselves, our mind, body, and wealth. All the three have to be purified in this sacrificial fire. Then he was asking the question, how can we silence the mind? How can we control upon the mind? And beautifully he said that the soul itself is very powerful, and through the reins of the intellect, we just turn the direction of our mind from all the lustrous desires towards, let them be behind us, like the shadow behind. And then we see ourselves in a different direction, and from there we can gradually pull the reins of the intellect and take them in our hands and calm down the mind. So it becomes easy for us to handle our mind also. Now in the fourth chapter, there are certain beautiful things that Arjuna is asking God, and that is, he says that, who did give this knowledge in the beginning? Have you ever given this wisdom to somebody else, or am I the first one who is getting this knowledge? So God says that in the beginning of the cycle, time cycle, I narrated this imperishable yoga to Surya, that is the sun. Then Manu, that means the moon, received the same knowledge from the sun. Manu absorbed it within his own memory, and then Ikshvaku received it from Manu, through whom the Raj Rishis came to know about it, but then it got lost. It just faded away, or it just vanished away. So it did not reach the human beings. When I was going through this chapter, it suddenly struck my mind that who needs the knowledge? Knowledge or wisdom is to improve ourselves, to make ourselves better. And when God says that I gave this knowledge to the Son, now does the Son require this knowledge? Definitely not. What is he going to do with this knowledge? This knowledge is for self-improvement, self-management, self-organization. Now the Son does not need this knowledge. So then why did God have to give this knowledge to the Son? Nobody can understand this. And then the Son gave this knowledge to the moon. Now does the moon require this knowledge? It is the human beings who require the knowledge. So if God would have given this knowledge to the human beings, then definitely we would not have got so bad. We would have maintained our values. We could have led our lives on the basis of those values. We would not have degraded or deteriorated in our values so much. So there is definitely something that is missing here. So once upon a time, what happened? I met a great saint and just had a chit chat with him. So I asked him that, have you read the Gita? So he said, yes, I have read the Gita many times. So then I asked him that as I'm reading the Gita, there is a lot of confusion that is in the text. Do you think that some things have been missing or some things have been added over a period of time? So he told me gave me a beautiful analogy. And he said, maybe in your childhood, you might have played this game. So I said, which game? So then he said to me that in your childhood, when the teacher takes the class out for a picnic or something, and there are 50 students maybe in the class, and on the picnic, when they are on the picnic, they play some games also, indoor games. So definitely she makes everyone stand in a circle and then calls one student, and in his ears she tells him a small story which he has to go and say it into the ears of somebody, the second one, then the third one, then that third one says to the fourth one says to the fifth one. So this is how, when it comes to the last student, the 50th student, do you think that the whole story is the same, or there is something that has changed? So I said, well, everything changes. There is not even one word of that story that remains. So he told me that this is what has happened with Gita also. He said, Gita has been written 5,000 years ago, and so many people have interpreted it. Just imagine the form that we have of Gita today. Do we think it would have been the same one all these years after all these interpretations? Definitely not. There are so many things that have been removed also according to time, and so many things that have been added into the time according to time. So we do not find the Gita which was originally spoken by God as it is. Although it is written on some of the books of Gita, Gita as it is, but there are a lot of changes, definitely. There are some things that have been missing. There are something, and we play this game for communication also, making people understand how communication gaps occur. So in the same way, he said that this Gita, which was originally mentioned by God, also has a lot of changes in it. And then I again started reading the Gita on the basis of that understanding that yes, there are certain things that have been changed. So deeply, when I was realizing how can God give this imperishable knowledge of yoga to the Surya, to sun, and then to moon, and then to Ikshvak. So then it just struck my mind, and I realized it must have been Surya Vanshi, not just Surya. So that means if I again read out the whole thing, that in the beginning of this cycle, this imperishable yoga is given to the self-illuminated souls of Sun dynasty, not the sun, Sun dynasty. That means the Surya Vanshis, those who are the dwellers of the Sun dynasty. Then it makes sense, yes. Because in the beginning of the cycle, when he says in the beginning of the cycle, so the beginning of the cycle means it is golden age, that is Satyuga or Suryavanshis. Suryavanshis are the ones who dwell in the Sun dynasty. And then that knowledge then transcended to the Moon dynasty souls. So Manu then absorbed that knowledge in his consciousness. So, which was transcended to the Moon dynasty souls of Treta Yuga. Gradually, it further transcended to Dwapar Yuga also. That is, Copper Age souls also received this knowledge. That means Ikshvaku, because Ikshvaku was in Copper Age. So he also received this knowledge in the beginning of Copper Age. And then it transcended to the Rajarishis. That means the end of Dwapar Yuga also, or Copper Age also. But then as Kali Yuga began, then human beings become helpless. Helpless in front of their own old habits or their sanskaras. So they become helpless. And without the divine sanskaras at this stage, everybody, they do not want to make efforts. Nobody wants to make efforts. But they want easy things in their lives. And so at this stage, the occult powers come into existence. And due to the influence of the occult powers, the knowledge of the yoga vanishes, definitely. Both cannot stay in one time. Either it is the occult powers or it is the divine wisdom. So then people gave preference to occult powers. They wanted things easy to achieve in life. It should be like a magic wand that it just is coming to their aid. So this knowledge vanishes. And again, then God says, now I narrate this same ancient yoga to you, which would bring great benefit to the entire world also. So that makes sense. He did, in the beginning of the cycle was golden age. So those souls who were like characterless, because he mentioned one word, and that one word was Vivashwan. And Vivashwan means that those souls who were like helpless, who were characterless, who did not have any divine sanskars in them, before going to golden age, definitely they should receive this knowledge so that they are able to purify themselves. And as they purify themselves, then they become worthy to go into that golden age. Right? So this is what he meant. So the Vanshis came out and Surya was left. Similarly, Manu was there, moon dynasty, but the dynasty was removed, moon remained. So then people just get confused. Why didn't God know who needs this knowledge? Who needs this wisdom? Definitely he should know. Who is in need of this wisdom? Those souls who are really do not have proper character, do not have proper divine sanskars, they need this knowledge. Not the sun and the moon, definitely not. So, as I said, the secrets of Gita. Secrets of Gita. So this is a great secret that is being revealed at this time, that he gives this knowledge at the beginning of the cycle, that is before golden age. Now is the confluence of the Kali Yuga and the golden age. So when there is this confluence, so at this confluence age, God descends. And that is the time when he has to give this knowledge. So then Arjuna asked another question. Then are you born like others to preach this elevated, significant yoga? Are you born like us? So God says, no. To take a form is different from taking a body. So I just transcend in a ready body. My birth is not visible with this eyes. My birth is not visible with this physical eyes. So that means that his birth is also divine. And if he says that you cannot see with this physical eyes, that means definitely Krishna is not uttering these words. But there is some superpower that has descended in that body of Krishna, who is saying to take a form is different from taking a body. And I create my own form. I do not take a birth like you souls do. So my birth is not visible with this physical eyes. I am beyond physical birth and death. And we all know Krishna took birth. Krishna also died. But God says, I am beyond physical birth and death. I am subtle. I am eternal. I am indestructible, beyond rebirth. So he does not even come in the cycle of birth and rebirth like us souls. And Krishna comes in the cycle of birth and rebirth. According to Bhagavat, we have seen that he has taken many avatars. In India, they show about 10 avatars. Then they show about 24 avatars. Different time, different place, different way he comes to just liberate. That is what is said. So now we have to find out whether he comes once in the entire cycle to give this significant knowledge on yoga, so that he can purify each and every soul and liberate them from this world of suffering to that world of happiness in golden age. So does he have to come once? Does he have to come 4 times? If he comes every age, golden age, silver age, copper age, iron age, 4 ages. So if he takes birth in every age, so then there should be 4 births. 4 avatars. So whether it is 1, whether it is 4, or whether it is 10 avatars, or whether it is 24 avatars. And now what do people say? He's omnipresent, everywhere, in each and every element, in each and every object is present. Every religion says this, is everywhere. So if he is present everywhere, then there is no need for him to come, descend on this earth. And if he is present everywhere, why should there be so much of irreligiousness? Then who is going to come according to the versions of Gita? Who will come? So that is why he says, I am beyond birth and rebirth. I appear with the power of yoga by bringing Prakriti, that is nature, under my control. So this physical body, which is made up of the 5 elements of nature, he brings them under control. And the birth of my form is not through a womb of a mother. I emerge with the yoga power by bringing all the 3 gunas of nature under my control. So that is what he says. That is the power that he has. He does not have to take a birth, but he descends in a ready body. And that is why he is beyond birth and death, and beyond birth and rebirth. So that means he does not even take a rebirth. Only once in the entire cycle he comes. Now when should he come? If he comes in golden age there are all people, all the souls are with divine sanskars. They are blessed. It is an age of truth, which is also called as heaven, paradise, golden age, where according to the scriptures it is mentioned that a cow and a tiger or a lion drink water from the same banks of river, and they are non-violent. So if the animals were so non-violent, how would be the human beings? Because it is the human being that has an effect on the flora and fauna. So if the animals were so non-violent that they used to drink water together from the same banks at the same time without hurting or harming anyone, just imagine how the souls would have been in that golden aged world, isn't it? The souls were so elevated and so pure. And who is that one who is beyond birth and death? Who is beyond? Because Krishna is not beyond birth and death. He comes in the cycle of birth and death. He was killed with an arrow of a wanderer. So he comes in the cycle of birth and rebirth. There are many avatars that are shown for Sri Krishna, isn't it? So he cannot be that one. So these words definitely are not the words or the versions of Sri Krishna. So at this time, when he is defining himself, what is my true nature? The Supreme Being is defining his nature, that you cannot see me with this physical eyes, means that Supreme Being who was in the body already of Sri Krishna, who is uttering these divine versions, this wisdom is being given to Arjuna, and he's telling him, you cannot see me with the physical eyes. And when he was seeing Sri Krishna in front of him, so he cannot have uttered this verse. Then who have uttered this verse? Who is beyond birth and rebirth? There is only one whom we all worship in India, in Bharat, in the form of Shivlingam, the incorporeal one, the one who does not have any physical form, but he is also worshipped in the form of light, Jyotirlingam. Jyotirlingam means the form of light. And that which is worshipped throughout Bharat, throughout the country, 12 Jyotirlingams in the whole of India, which are still today also the most holy pilgrim places in the world, where people go specially on pilgrimages, and they say they earn a lot of charity in their account, isn't it? So that is the real form. All these 12 Jyotirlingams that are created in India at different places. I was visiting one of them in Kedarnath, and there were some people who were there, and we were just having a chit chat about Kedarnath and what had happened 2 years back when there was a big outburst of the cloud and a lot of rain, and due to that there were huge landslides and everything was washed away. Many people were killed during that time. So they have started rebuilding everything, although the only thing that was safe was the temple. Nothing happened to the temple. And it was said that when the water was coming from the mountain tops, when the cloud burst, and the cloud burst was there, so a lot of rain, huge, as if somebody has just downpoured the rain. So a huge rock just was sliding from the backside of the temple, and as it was rolling and coming down, a huge rock from the top, and it just at the back of the wall of the temple, it just rested there on two rocks. It just placed itself there. So then the downpour of all the water was coming from both the sides, and so the temple was completely safe. Nothing happened to the temple when everything was devastated. So we were just sitting there with some of the sannyasis, and we were having a chat about what had happened. And then there was a person who just happened to tell me, who was a scientist, and he said that, do you know why these temples are built at these places? So I said, no, I'd just like to know. And then he gave his introduction and he said, I am a scientist. And actually we are doing a research. And what is the research? So he said, I'm visiting all the 12 places where the Shivlingams are, because it is said that these temples were built by those ancient sannyasis who had a lot of power, and they had scientific wisdom also with them. So they built this temple and these places. And why they built this temple? Because they said that the cosmic rays that pass from these places where the Shiva temple is, when this cosmic rays pass, there's a lot of energy that is generated. And it happens so that the temperature suddenly started changing. There was a rainfall that has started. So all the air services were stopped, the helicopter services, because either you go walking up there or you go by helicopter. So we all went through a helicopter. And so when we went there, we had to stay because the helicopter services stopped. because of the complete change in the weather. So nobody was able to go down. Those who came walking, definitely they started going back walking. But we stayed overnight over there. We had to. There was no other option. So when we stayed there, you won't believe, there was so much of energy. Just we got a room which was recently built, and so it was a new room with new beds and everything new. So it was just besides the temple, just next to the temple. And at night, it was a full moon night, so we all went out and to the temple. And you won't believe, really, there was like a lot of energy that was felt in those places. So it is said that these temples are built in those places only where the cosmic rays, they cross each other, and that cross, that is the place where the temple is built. A lot of energy is felt during that time. So we experienced that. We could not sleep the whole night because it was like we were completely fresh because of that energy that was constantly there. So this is what is the belief in Indian culture, Indian heritage. But outside India, if we go into the Muslim religion, especially Makkah, it is said that in Makkah there is the holy stone of Kaaba. And this holy stone of Kaaba also came down from the heavens, and Prophet Muhammad himself had placed this stone, the holy stone of Kaaba, in Makkah himself. So they also believe that God is light. They said Nure Ilahi. Nure Ilahi means he is complete divine light. Similarly, it is said that when Moses went to the mountains, he got 10 commandments and he saw a bush, a fire in the bush, a very powerful light. And when he asked, "Who are you?" people would ask me, what should I tell them? And that light said, "I am Jehovah." Tell them, "I'm Jehovah." So Jesus never said that he is God. He always said, "God is light. I am the Son of God." And similarly, when you go out to Vatican City also, inside the Vatican, you'll find the symbol of holy light, whom they pray to. God is light. So they have that holy light in front of them. Similarly, in the Sikh religion, Guru Nanak Dev also mentioned Ek Omkar, Nirakar, Nirvair, Satnam, Akal Murad. Then if we see that Mahatma Buddha also, he never inspired anyone to do any pujas, no. To worship, no. He constantly told them or inspired them to meditate on that divine light. And this was what his message is. Similarly, in the Parsi religion, they have the holy fire, which is constantly burning in their temples. Similarly, everyone in the universe, so the universal acceptance is for only one, and that is light. Even Sri Krishna worshipped him. Sri Ram also worshipped him in Rameshwaram. Sri Krishna worshipped him in Gopeshwaram. Similarly, if we see Shankar also in a meditative pose, and he also meditated on Mount Kailash. And Mount Kailash is the highest, the whole mountain is in the form of Shivlingam or the Jyotirlingam. So universal acceptance is only for that supreme light. So when God said to Arjuna that He was describing about himself that I am beyond birth and rebirth. I am beyond birth and death. I am immortal, eternal, indestructible. I do not take birth through a mother's womb. Everything is described by him. Then Arjuna asked him another question. Then when and in which situation do you emerge? And that is the time when God says, Yada Yada, he means he addresses Arjuna as O Bharat. O Bharat means he's giving this wisdom not only to one person, but to the entire Bharatvasis. So he says and addresses him, O Bharat, when the heart is filled with strong dislike for the highest religion and the supreme being, when irreligiousness increases, it is at those times that I create my form and incarnate myself. Here, incarnation does not mean rebirth, but he reincarnates. So it is not taking a rebirth, but he descends in a ready body. That is what he said. And when the heart of human beings is filled with strong dislike for the highest religion and the Supreme Father, when irreligiousness increases, it is at those times that I have to create my form and incarnate myself. So incarnation does not mean taking a rebirth. And then he says, why do I have to come? For what purpose? So he explains his purpose also. So first he defines himself, who he is. Then he tells when he has to come, what time in this cycle, and the purpose. So the purpose is to let wisdom, distaste, and the divine sanskars that bring one closer to the highest goal of the Supreme Soul flow without any obstruction, and to destroy lust, anger, attachment, hatred, and such vices through which wrong actions are performed, and to re-establish the most ancient and highest religion, I incarnate in every such age. Every such age. So when there is, if we see the entire cycle, golden age, silver age, copper age, and iron age, in this entire cycle, when do you think there is irreligiousness at its peak? That he has to descend. So in the golden age, everybody had divine sanskars. So there was no wars or nothing happened at that time. And there was no need for him to descend. Similarly, in Silver Age, when it was the kingdom of Ravan and Ram, when Ram Rajya was there also Ram was there, so there was no need for the Supreme to descend. In Copper Age, if he had to descend in Copper Age, then he would have destroyed the old religion or the entire old world and established a new world. But after Copper Age, it is Iron Age, the age of most irreligiousness on this world. So do you think that with the wisdom of the knowledge of Gita, such an age is created by the Supreme? Definitely not. Definitely not. So he has to come at such age, which is Kali Yuga, where there is complete irreligiousness, where human being's heart is filled with dislike for the highest religion. And that is why there are so many religions today in the world. There is no one religion. And he comes, descends to abolish all the religions and establish only one religion, the highest religion. and to allow wisdom, distaste, and divine sanskars to just flow without any obstruction, and to destroy lust, anger, attachment, hatred, and such vices through which wrong actions are performed, and to re-establish the most ancient and highest religion. I incarnate at such age. So that is this age, the end of Kali Yuga, where there is so much of irreligiousness prevailing. So he has to come at this time only. And when he comes, descends at this time, that is when he has to liberate everyone. If he has to come every age, then the world would never deteriorate. There won't be any degradation. But there is so much of degradation and deterioration of values at the end of Kali Yuga only. Golden Age was an age of divine values, divine sanskaras. So the characteristics of the Supreme who has descended, and then the time, and then the purpose. So here the word age does not mean golden age, silver age, but when tamas gun, that is impurity, is in the extreme, and there is enmity and objection in all four directions, when impurity is in full action, and there is a great amount of laziness, sleep, and lethargy in human beings, when people are not able to perform their duty, which they are aware of, and they are not able to free themselves from the actions they are forbidden to do. I merge in that age when there is such up and downs of religions, of the highest religion, that is completely gone. So here, very clearly, now Arjuna is able to understand that these divine versions are not of Krishna, but there is definitely some supreme power or superpower that has descended in his body and who is explaining his purpose of coming to this world. He shows his characteristics also, which differ from the characteristics of Sri Krishna, definitely, because Arjuna was knowing Sri Krishna from childhood. But why does he need to show him the characteristics of the Supreme? Because he didn't know him. So that is why. And now he's able to understand that there is something, some difference between what I have understood till now, because till now he was understanding it is Sri Krishna who's trying to help him, guide him in every way. But now there is some realization, this is not Sri Krishna. This is not Sri Krishna. And so God says that my actions and birth are divine and spiritual, which cannot be seen with this physical eyes. So nobody can see my actions nor my birth. Just as the birth is not seen, similarly the actions is also not seen. So his birth is a divine being because he just descends in a ready body, which nobody knows afterwards, isn't it? And his actions are also divine, which cannot be seen. So Arjuna was visualizing Krishna's actions since childhood. So now when he is still defining his own self, that means he's trying to make Arjuna realize whatever you're seeing with this physical eyes, I'm not that one. So now Arjuna's question is, then who can see and understand this? Who can see you? So he says, only those who become pure through wisdom and penance and are free from attachment, fear and anger are able to see and have my vision. Only the ones who have had self-realization will understand my manifestation, that God incarnates in which particular loved one. So when Arjuna said, now he realizes, so he says, then who can see you? Who can understand you? So he says, only those who become pure through wisdom and penance. Pure souls can have this realization. At the same time, who are free from attachment, fear, and anger, are able to see and have my vision. Only the ones who have had self-realization will understand my manifestation. So here he clearly makes him understand that I manifest, that God incarnates in this particular loved one. So Krishna is his loved one. So he incarnates in his body. His manifestation is understood only on the basis of purity, wisdom, penance. One who are free from attachment, fear, anger, etc. can have this vision. I hope you all have had this vision. With your third eye, you are able to understand the manifestation of God in the body of Sri Krishna, who is his loved one. So beautifully, he has said this, and who is able to give us this realization himself. So we are lucky enough to have this realization, isn't it? And then just to bring a change in his attitude, he says, the understanding of karma is very deep. So he changes the subject now, because he doesn't want him to just go into that confusion. So he changes the subject and he gives the understanding of karma. Karma is very deep, hey Arjuna. So it is necessary to understand what is karma, what is akarma, that is neutral action, and what is vikarma, that is sinful action. Because then alone you can liberate yourself from its bondage. Isn't it? Karma, akarma, vikarma. So we have seen in the third chapter what was true karma. Wherever there is the purification, the sacrificial fire, which is specially performed to purify the atmosphere, to purify the souls, to purify. So action, what is real action? When the system is for self-purification, that is action. Any karma, anything that is done for self-purification is karma. But at the same time, he says akarma, neutral actions. So what is neutral actions? What is karma? What is akarma? And what is the difference between this? And then what is vikarma? So these three words have to be understood very well. Anything that is performed is known as karma. Akarma means that which is neutral action. So let me give you an example. To understand in a better way, there is, suppose, a seed. And I sow that seed in the ground. I have sowed it with my own hands. I water it. Gradually, there is a beautiful tree that is coming out. I nurture it, and it expands into a huge tree. And as the tree is there, seen, after some time there are fruits. I just pluck that fruit. And as I pluck that fruit, I take it home and I cut it and I eat that fruit. Both are actions. Sowing a seed is also action. Plucking the fruit and eating the fruit is also action. Is there any difference between the two actions? Sowing a seed and eating the fruit? Yes, there is. A very beautiful connection that is seen. Sowing a seed is an elevated action. Why? Because from one seed, I get hundreds of fruits. And that also every season. Such a powerful seed it is. But plucking the fruit and eating the fruit, this action finishes here. Because eating the fruit just gives me the pleasure, satisfaction. It would not give me another fruit. But sowing a seed is going to give me 100 fruits. I can eat those fruits, or maybe those generations that will come after me, they can also eat that fruit. Anybody can eat it. So sowing a seed is a powerful action. Eating the fruit is the end of the action. That is why it is said akarma, neutralizes it, finishes. I sowed it and I got it. That's it. But then further God says to Arjuna, human beings who are able to see action in neutral action and neutral action in an action is an intelligent yogi. Is an intelligent yogi. He who renounces his desires at the beginning of the action until the time of the fruit, always contented in God's remembrance, independent of worldly rewards. He is able to burn his sins with the fire of wisdom. He is able to burn his sins with the fire of wisdom. So, an intelligent yogi is one who is able to see action in neutral action and neutral action in an action. So, what does he mean by that? Beautifully, supposing I sow the seed, I nurture it, I get fruits, I eat the fruit. So in my action, there is neutral action also. But not till there. Again, after eating that fruit, whatever seed is in the fruit, I germinate it and I again sow it. So in a neutral action, there is another action. They are intelligent people. Those who eat it and throw away the seed, finish it. That means they do not sow it. They do not perform another action with that neutral action also. Finish it. Over. So what they sowed, they gained it, they enjoyed it, finished it. But they were not able to sow it again. Like supposing the person who had done good karma, has done good actions in his past life, maybe today he gains so much of wealth and he enjoys that wealth. He gains all the pleasure that he wants to gain in his life, enjoys his life to the fullest, but he does not sow it again. So intelligent yogi, what would he do? He would again give out some of the percentage of his money in charity. That means he sows it again for the next life. And those who are able to do this, they are intelligent people. So a beautiful message for all of us is, whatever you have got in your life, don't just enjoy and finish it off. Again, sow it for your next lives also. That is the message that has been given by God himself to Arjuna. You need to do action in a neutral action also. Although you are enjoying your fruits, Yes, you have everything, all the pleasures, everything, but you need to sow again so that you can reap it again in your next lives also. They are the intelligent people who do not just enjoy this life, but they enjoy all coming lives also, who do not have any desires at the same time, at the beginning of the action until the time of the fruit, always contented in God's remembrance, independent of worldly rewards, is able to burn his sins with the fire of wisdom. So through true understanding, we consecrate our past life sinful actions also. So vikarma means sinful actions. Those actions based are done on the basis of vices. So they are vicious actions. So vikarma means vicious actions, right? So karma, akarma, and vikarma. The, the secret is very deep to understand. Okay. So with this, we end here, and with a few minutes of meditation, just reflect on what we have heard today. We got the true introduction of God Himself, who explained who He is, what His characteristics are. So let us just focus on that, and then thank our host, our Canberra Center sisters, and our brother from Sydney Center, and our brothers and sisters in Australia, and all those brothers and sisters who are at this time watching us live on this YouTube. A very happy evening to all of you. And before we end with a few minutes of meditation. So for a few moments, let us just go on a spiritual journey. Take this mind away from the external world. Focus within, in the center of the forehead. And realize that I am a beautiful, conscient entity, like a shining star in the center of the forehead. This body is just like my costume that I've put on to play my role, that I am separate. I realize my true eternal nature is that of peace. And today I realized that just as I am a point of light, eternal, imperishable soul, so is my Supreme Father, who is also a divine light, beyond the cycle of birth and death, eternal, very subtle. With my inner eye, I visualize my Supreme Father, was such a powerful light, who is constantly showering his blessings on me, who is the bestower of all good things in life. Om Shanti.